right, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have David here. David, you're an incredible, leader of such an important company and in the entertainment world, in the pizza space, and it's in a bunch of different areas. Chuck E. Cheese. I've been somebody who's been at Chuck E. Cheese for a long time, grew up with it as part of my family. We would go, quite often, and I know so many other people have done that too. And you've been able to really make the brand resonate with younger audiences and also with older ones, and make it a part of their lives and something that's enjoyable, is always a fun experience, and is very family friendly. And today, that's something that is even more important than when it was when I was growing up. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So, how did your passion for wanting to be a business leader, wanting to be kind of more in the entertainment space, like how did that interest of yours begin?
Well, I think it really started as a teenager and really understanding the importance of leadership and really whatever you were doing. So I had always been a go-getter in terms of, going out and from cutting grass to my first job working at Ken's Pizza in Manchester, Missouri, where I learned to cut my teeth in the pizza business, which I just loved. And from there, you're playing sports as a high school student, and then getting into college, and then you start learning the art and science of leadership. And from books that I read early on that still stick with me today, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with Dr. Stephen Covey, all of John Maxwell's books. So you become a student of leadership, and I've always really been interested in that.
So you started out your career working in a pizza shop. Now it's kind of come back full circle. You're managing one of the biggest pizza shops. What does that feel like?
It's incredible. In fact, last year it was like a pinch me moment. I was at the Pizza Leadership Awards in Las Vegas, and I was recognized as one of the leaders in the pizza industry, and then for our brands, Peter Piper Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese. And it was just incredible. And I posted a picture of me when I was 15 years old, from Ken's Pizza Manchester to now, and it's really special. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, it definitely is pretty awesome. It's very much a great full circle moment there. So, you had different roles at Six Flags, at DC Comics, both of which really important brands in the entertainment space. How did that help shape you for what you're doing now?
Well, I think that my journey really helped shape exactly where I am today. And I think like many people going through college, or your late teens, early 20s, you're trying to figure out what that next step is going to be in your life, and you're a little lost at times. And I was certainly one of those people that was lost after my first year of college. I didn't know what I was going to do next, and I ended up packing my car with a couple buddies, and we drove to Orlando, Florida. And I got my first job in the world of family entertainment. And that's all I knew was working in pizza shops, and going to a college, outside of Kansas City for my first year. And then all of a sudden I'm in Orlando, Florida, and I'm working at the Dolphin Community Pool. Now my job was cleaning trash, but it was so incredible. And I looked around and I saw all of these families, and I remember this vividly, this kid's smile when the dolphin jumped out of the water. And I was like, how incredible is this, that I have a job that I'm getting paid for just to make people happy. And, I love that. I worked at SeaWorld for a number of years. I interned there. And at the time I transferred, I went to the University of Georgia. I was driving from Athens, Georgia to Orlando, Florida every weekend just to work on the weekends at SeaWorld, because I just loved it so much. I got a full-time job coming out of college at SeaWorld, and I was working in the catering department. So I was putting together picnics, and, probably what I didn't think I was going to, what I thought I was going to do for my, postgraduate career. But you know what? At that time, it was a full-time job, and I took it and I loved it, and I thought it was great. But then 8 months later, after living in beautiful Central Florida, my boss called me in and said, we're going to transfer you to Sesame Place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this was a brand, of course. It's a theme park based on the Sesame Street characters. And, I didn't know anything about preschool marketing, and I was loving Florida, but I took the chance because the path just kind of opened, and I moved to Philadelphia. And that's when I really learned about a whole new area of the business of licensing, and the power of intellectual properties and characters. And that fueled me for my next move, which, to your point, was DC Comics, and then ultimately at Six Flags, which are the next steps before I got to Chuck E. Cheese.
Mm-hmm. So you really got such a big depth of the entertainment world. Like, you were able to understand so much of this IP and how to use it properly. And then I think you also focused on like partnership marketing. So you really were well versed.
Yeah, when I got to DC Comics, it was an interesting story because I was at a promotion conference for when I was at Sesame Place in Chicago, and I saw a gentleman by the name of Joel Ehrlich speak, and he was the senior vice president of DC Comics, worked on promotions and the movies, and boy, he was so dynamic. And I came up to him after the conference, and I said, I introduced myself, and I said, I'd love to work for you. And he said, follow up with me after the conference, which I did. And I got to see him, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm promotion and sponsorship, and that's really where my expertise is." And he goes, "If you come to DC Comics, I want you to sell." And I originally was like, I don't want to sell. That's kind of who wants to be a salesperson, right? And he said, if you don't learn how to sell, you'll never be successful in business. And just as the path opened for me to come to Sesame Place, the path opening for me to come to DC Comics, and I took over selling ads in comic books. I had never
Wow.
read, I never wrote, never read a comic book in my life, and there I am. I'm selling ads in comic books, but I learned the business, and I was able to work my way up there, selling. Then I got back into promotions and sponsorships, and then I learned licensing and global entertainment of movies and animation and video games, and that was incredible. And we were the licensor to Six Flags, who was the licensee of all the DC Comics characters, and that really gave me an entree back into the theme park world.
Mhm. And you also spent a lot of time managing properties outside the U.S. You got this incredible exposure to what that was like too.
Yeah, the journey at Six Flags was incredible. I spent 13 years there. Started off in partnership marketing, moved over into operations, leading the food service and retail departments. So, I was going from selling sponsorships in theme parks to Six Flags to overseeing 17,000 operators, which was really a tough move, but it was a challenge from a leadership perspective. And you had to rise above and utilize some of the learnings and studies that I had done in leadership to really, gain the credibility to going from sponsorship sales into operations, and that was something that we collectively were successful on. But then I think my biggest challenge was the last couple of years I spent at Six Flags when I was named the president of international development. And at the time, we were operating two theme parks outside the U.S., which were in operation in Mexico City and Montreal, Canada. But I was really in charge of developing Six Flags around the world. And from there, we were in development of parks in the Middle East, in Dubai, and ultimately we signed a deal in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, which is coming up out of the sand right now. It's a beautiful park in the Qiddiya Gigaplex. And then we had parks that we were in development in China, which ultimately didn't come to fruition because of COVID. But it was incredible learning, and it was something that you really learn leadership and understanding of people really around the world.
I'm sure. So, how did the opportunity for you to be involved in leading Chuck E. Cheese and all the different brands under the entertainment portfolio, and why did you want to have this opportunity and take it?
We got a call on the end of 2019, and from a headhunter, and they recently named a new CEO at Six Flags, and that was a job that I was really interested in getting, and just that wasn't in the cards for me. So I got a call. It was around November 2019, and it was for a company called CEC Entertainment, and I didn't even know what that was. And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Well, it's Chuck E. Cheese." And I'm like, "Ooh." I said, I don't think that's really where I want to be. I'm building billion-dollar theme parks, and all of a sudden, you're interested in working at a real small FEC, and plus Chuck E. Cheese at the time, and a little bit of a tough reputation, from years of maybe some capital neglect and some PR stories that had happened. I said, I'll go check it out, but I just don't think I'm going to be interested. So I went to my local Chuck E. Cheese. It was a Saturday afternoon, and the place was nuts. I mean, it was crazy. Kids running around everywhere. There was trash on some of the tables. It looked a little dated. And I called back on Monday to the head honor and said, you know what, I just don't think this is where I want to be. So I appreciate the call. And then I started thinking that night. I'm laying there, and I started thinking about my career of starting in the pizza industry, working in family entertainment at SeaWorld, then learning preschool marketing around great intellectual properties and characters at Sesame Place, and then taking the leap to DC Comics and understanding the platforms of entertainment and theatrical marketing, video game licensing, And then everything I learned at Six Flags, especially on a global footprint and understanding the power of intellectual properties and how you could globalize them. I couldn't sleep that night. I called back the recruiter the next morning. I said, you know what? Not only would this be such an incredible opportunity to help turn around this brand, but I'm probably the best qualified person in the world to take on this opportunity. And I was lucky enough to get the job, and I started January 2020.
So you really had a whole 180 shift there.
I did. It was incredible. But I thought about just all the fundamentals of what Chuck E. Cheese stands for, about safe, wholesome family entertainment, and how we could bring Chuck E. Cheese back to its heyday. And boy, I came in here with a head full of steam in January 2020, and 6 weeks later, we ended up closing the doors for COVID and filing bankruptcy 2 months later. So it's been a complete roller coaster, but something that has been really incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that you're definitely right about, David. Your background is so unique to have a role like this. I mean, you started out in the pizza space. You've been in the entertainment space for a long time. You understand what it's like engaging with the youth too. So you were very qualified for it. And very few people have that type of background, that they're in pizza and in that as well.
Yeah, I was super lucky, but there was nothing that prepared me for COVID. And what a challenge it was for a leadership, not only in my seat, but my direct reports and our entire leadership team, and those even on in the field, on the ground. It was incredible, and it was something that I think we all learned together. But I'm super proud of what we accomplished during that time period. It was a blessing in disguise for a couple of reasons. One, it gave us, from a company perspective and a financial perspective, it gave us a chance to restructure the company. And really, it's a very healthy company that just needed to really look at the capital structure and get that worked out, and we were able to do that in restructuring. But secondly, it gave me a time to pause, and it gave me time to, while we were closed and how hard it was, it gave me time to really understand the brand, to get to know all of the employees, the passion they have for this brand, the passion that the communities and the guests have for this brand, and really to set the strategy on a go-forward basis for when we emerged and when the world started opening up, we were prepared with a great plan for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that time was so difficult, but you guys managed. I mean, especially when in physical locations, people were not going to them as much. You were able to manage to get through it, and some brands did not. So, it's great you were able to figure that out.
Yeah, there was a lot of learnings, I'll tell you. And, we were one of the first, and this is probably the most well-publicized event, is we were one of the first national companies, if not the first, to launch a ghost kitchen. And, one of the reasons we did that is, and there's been reports out that Chuck E. Cheese was trying to trick people. That wasn't the case at all. Chuck E. Cheese, we're one of the largest pizzerias in the world with close to 500 plus locations around the globe. But we weren't in the business of really selling pizza. We're in the business of selling entertainment. But when you're closed and no one can come see you, we had to immediately turn to being in the business of selling pizza. So we weren't set up for delivery. We weren't set up for carryout yet. And we had this great kitchen that we created a new recipe with a little bit thicker of a dough, multiple cheeses and Italian seasonings, and we named it after Pasquale, which was our chef in the band. And so we had our Chuck E. Cheese, but we're really not in the consideration set for people to say on a Friday night, let's order pizza from Chuck E. Cheese, right? It's really a special occasion. So we came up with the idea of launching a more premium pizza for more of an adult palate taste, and that was Pasquale's. And, it was something that caught fire from a PR perspective that, a lot of brands followed. And that was really the start of the Ghost Kitchen brand during COVID.
So, I was going to ask, what's the balance generally like between the food side of things and then the entertainment side of things? Like, how important is the food business to the entertainment side?
It's the food is a very important part of the business, but it's not the driving factor of why you come to Chuck E. Cheese. The majority of revenue that's generated by the company is for our entertainment. So that's our incredible games and now active play that we've installed. And food is part of that experience, but it is not the primary driver. So, most of the competitive set in pizza, if you will, people are using that as the dining out and go-to reasons why you're going to go out. For us, it's all about the games and it's all about the entertainment. And, we bring you in for the games and we keep you for the food. And we have great pizza. It's scratch made. It's a great product, but we don't get credit, a lot of times for our pizza, and people don't come just for dinner; they come to play.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that the two go really well together to have pizza with that, and especially having more of an adult taste as well. I'm sure that's helped you just attract more parents to want to be in Chuck E. Cheese and bring their kids there.
Well, it has, and we took all the learnings from Pasquale's, and we actually made that our R&D kitchen for our new grown-up menu. And
Mhm.
the majority of pizza we sell for 5 and 6-year-olds are cheese and pepperoni, but for adults, we've got new pizzas like the spicy piggy, which is more spicier. We've got our Korean barbecue meatballs and things like that. That are going to be more of an adult taste versus a 5-year-old child.
Mhm. Yeah. So, the character that you have, like I mean, just in general, all the characters, but Chucky, like it's evolved a lot over the years. Like, how do you think about evolving the branding you have, and like, where do you see that branding going?
Well, this is where I think I get most excited. In my experience working with great characters from Big Bird to Cookie Monster, Bert and Ernie to the world's greatest superheroes of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, all these great characters I've been able to work with. There's something special about Chuck E. Cheese. And I say he's the greatest mouse in entertainment. And I'm telling you, on a Saturday after the countdown where it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and it gets down to 1, and that door opens and Chuck E. Cheese comes out, these kids lose their minds. It's like teenagers at a Taylor Swift concert. I'm telling you, they lose their minds. So there's something really special about Chuck E. Cheese for a lot of different reasons. Number one, kids love the character, but the multi-generation appeal that Chuck E. Cheese has is really unique to this particular property, right? So we're talking about now 4 generations of people that have come through Chuck E. Cheese doors to celebrate a great moment, a birthday, some type of great family moment. And, we opened in 1977. And since then, more than 1 billion people have come through our doors to have a celebration and to interact with Chuck E. Cheese. That's Chuck E. inside the 4 walls. Now, we are developing Chuck E. Cheese really to be an entertainment icon. And, his origin is, of course, the band. And, he's in Munch's Make Believe Band. He's got his great characters, and they had original music. We're bringing that back. Over the past couple of years, we have created new albums that are now streaming on, all the major music streaming apps. We've brought Chuck E. Cheese outside the 4 walls and have live concerts. And then we've got our owned entertainment on YouTube and YouTube Kids. And we're in discussion right now for animation. And ultimately, what I'd love to see is Chuck E. Cheese in a feature film movie. And, as I say on my town halls to all of our employees, we are the treat down the street. We have the most likable mouse. And it'd be my dream to have every 5-year-old fall asleep in Chuck E. Cheese jammies and wake up and have Chuck E. Cheese cereal and do great in school so they can visit the treat down the street on the weekends.
Yeah. I mean, the ideas you have about IP make a lot of sense in scaling it. I mean, there definitely should be a movie. I mean, just looking at the track record and success of Alvin and the Chipmunks, there hasn't been a new Alvin and the Chipmunks movie in a long time. And what you're talking about could really go along that angle.
It sure could. And if you look at the past year, there's been great properties that had their heyday in the 80s, like Super Mario Brothers. That was a billion-dollar box office hit. Barbie, of course, was a smash hit as well. So it only makes sense for us to align with the right partner. But we had to first clean up our act in our brand. And we have been under the most aggressive brand transformation of any entertainment brand on the globe and deployed more than $350 million post-COVID to clean up every single location and make it bright, put in all new games, new entertainment, floor-to-ceiling jumbotrons. We've got digital dance floors. We've pulled out the old animatronics. We've got a new menu. We've opened up the kitchen. And it really is something special now at every single one of our locations.
So that's you've put a lot of focus into cleaning everything up and all of that. Like, how do you now see like franchise operations kind of scaling? Like, what do you want to see now from like more from the franchise space? Because you guys have done really well in the franchise space generally.
Well, thank you. So the locations corporately, or the locations domestically, are 99% corporate. And so we control and operate those. But internationally, we're in 17 countries around the globe. And all of those are franchised. And the benefit of franchising is a couple different things. One, the greatest benefit is you can scale quickly. And that's really, one of our ultimate goals is to really be a global FEC company. Right now, we're a domestic company with an international division with incredible franchisees throughout South America, all over Latin America, and really in the Middle East. But our aspirations are to be the global and to open up Southeast Asia into China, Japan, Singapore, going to look at India and South Korea. We just signed a deal for 10 stores in Australia as well. So in fact, I'll be going to Singapore here in a couple of weeks to have some discovery meetings as well. So that's really the opportunity. And for us, from a corporate perspective, you got to set the bar high, right? You got to have great operations. We operate incredibly tightly. We make sure that we're there for our team, our guests, our employees, and our communities. And we take all of those learnings and we bring those to our franchise partners.
And what are you now, David, interested in doing to the store, to like the actual Chuck E. Cheese locations? Like, are there new things you're thinking about bringing to them that haven't been there yet? What are some innovations you want to bring about just in general in the company?
Yeah, I would say the biggest innovation post just the brand transformation has been the installation of active play. And it started with trampolines. And we installed in a short 9 months over 400 trampolines throughout our locations. And this is something post-COVID that parents said to us, hey, we want to have our kids running around and having active play, not just playing arcade games. That's great, but how do we complement that with the physical play as well? So we installed these trampolines. It's been a huge hit. And what's really important, what's great about the Chuck E. Cheese brand is that we are built for kids. And our slogan is where a kid can be a kid. And that's really, it reigns true on every single thing we do within the four walls. And let me give you an example. Our entertainment is built for young kids. It's wholesome. It's safe. We partner with Kids Bop. We partner with the biggest names in kids entertainment to make sure that all of our entertainment is really for that 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old. And it's great, and it's clean, and it's wholesome, and it's safe for your families. The next thing is we look at our menu. We slice our pizzas in smaller slices for little fingers, right? So it's built. We've got pizza that is built and sliced for little kids. We also, when we look at our cabinets and how we build our games, our cabinets are lower, so it's easier for kids to play on. So we really make the environment where all kids can come through our doors. They can check their lives away for a couple hours and just be kids and run around and be in a place where they can enjoy. And our parents love to see that. And it's a very participatory entertainment spaces where parents and kids are playing together. And that's really special for us. So the active play, and then just having a space where all kids can just run around and be free and not worry about anything else, but just enjoying themselves is an environment that we really enjoy.
Yeah, I definitely think that additions help with that and making it more of a friendly environment for kids, and also just takes a certain amount of energy out of them too.
Absolutely. When kids are falling asleep on their dad or mom's shoulder on the way home, we win.
For sure. So, David, what are some of your goals, like at this point, like short-term goals, long-term goals? Like if you had to lay out like a big picture vision for where you see yourself going as a leader and for Chuck E. Cheese, in general over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years, what would it be?
Yeah, so our short-term goals are pretty well laid out, both publicly and internally, and everybody knows where we're going. Number one, we got to finish the remodeling process, right? So that's every location to remodel. And that's been a 3-year labor of love. We're going to be finished up this year, which we're really excited about. So there's great brand synergies at every single one of our locations, as I mentioned before, with all the sights and sounds of the new entertainment, new menu, new games. They look fantastic. So that's checkbox number one. The second is the active play. So the installation of all the trampolines, and we're now testing obstacle courses under the Chuck E. Cheese Ninja Run branding. So that's number two. And then number three is we got to invite everybody back, right? We got to invite a new generation to come back to Chuck E. Cheese. And how do we do that, especially in a tough macro environment? Well, we do that in an affordable way to bring value back to young families when they're faced with so much inflationary challenges, and there's a lot of competition out there as well. So how do we do that? We introduced a 2-month summer pass, which was incredibly successful. And then the newest news that we've had is the introduction of membership and subscription. So that gives an opportunity for young families to take a bite-sized look and investment into being a part of the Chuck E. Cheese family. And so we fixed the product. Now we've got the pricing in control and to bring all that traffic back, and it's been a great traffic driver for us. So that's the short term. On a more long-term basis, there's 2 development areas that we're really focused on. It's the white space, both nationally and internationally. And we talked a little bit about before of, how can we expand the Chuck E. Cheese brand going from just an international, 100 locations to, hundreds of locations around the globe. So that's really exciting. And we're in conversations right now with partners all over the world. And then ultimately is to have Chuck E. Cheese all over entertainment. So between licensing and the great cross section of sports and entertainment, movies, animation, game shows, that's really where I'd love to see this brand 5 to 10 years from now. And for me as a leader, I'm just along for the ride and helping these incredible employees, more than 14,000 people that work here right now, reach ultimately the goals. And we take care of our people, we take care of our guests, and we take care of our communities, which was really important to me.
I think one of the things, David, that stands out about your leadership is the accessibility you provide to a lot of these families to get actually involved in Chuck E. Cheese and to have this as an outlet that their kids can use. Today there's so many kids want to have a space that they can just forget about things going on in their lives, and like you've actually made the pricing more affordable too. And that's something like that I think is so important that you've done. One of the best things I would say you've done.
Well, thank you for that. It's also important as a brand that we're a bridge and we welcome all kids. And we have incredible partnerships with organizations like Autism Speaks, where we're the largest partner in the family entertainment center industry that works with kids and families who are on the spectrum. And we make sure that we have dedicated programs and programming for our employees as well as for our guests. And we've got a program called Sensory Sensitive Sundays where we open up the doors on Sundays and we turn down the lights, we turn down the sound, and really make it a welcoming environment for kids on the spectrum, and that's important. We most recently signed a deal with the American Society for Deaf Children, and this is a wonderful organization that works with kids of hard of hearing and deaf that can come into Chuck E. Cheese and now celebrate their birthday. We're teaching our employees now how to sign an ASL happy birthday. We have incorporated into our entertainment that we've got ASL being signed happy birthday into our happy birthday music, and that's just something it's really wonderful. And of course, working with all the communities, we're a huge advocate of helping communities come celebrate at Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, David, that was all the questions that I had. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think that you've already had significant impact on Chuck E. Cheese, and I'm sure in a lot of people's lives with the joy you brought them by being a part of this family you've created. And I'm sure you're going to continue to do that with some of the other innovations you want to bring about and also the plan we discussed here. So I'm excited to see what you're going to do next and wish you much success.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me on and help tell the story of Chuck E. Cheese, the all-new Chuck E. Cheese. Really excited about it. Thank you.
Awesome.